Welcome to Beading with Machi Wapak Winyum. I'm your host, Lydia Sturby. Okay, so today we're going to be making these beautiful Ukrainian style poppy earrings, and in your kit you would have received a baggies with all the colors labeled out, A, B, C, D, E, F, a bobbin of white thread, your heart beeswax in case your thread starts to fray, then you're going to just rub it across the beeswax to kind of pull it back together. You would have gotten 2 of these little horseshoe shaped wire guards, 2 of the hooks, 2 of the stoppers as well. So to get started, you're going to take, I usually go from the middle finger of one hand and pinch and go to the opposite shoulder from there. So do with what you're comfortable, and I will be showing you along the way how to add more string if need be. So you're going to start with by grabbing your thread, get a size that you are comfortable working with. I usually like to use a smaller needle for when I'm doing my brick stitch top. And of course we're going to start with an actual ladder stitch, and according to the pattern we're going to take the first, starts with 2 black and then 2 white, and we're going to slide those all the way to the bottom, and then you're going to go back through all 4 of those. And so I've left myself a good 3 or so inches at the bottom here. No knot, because knots are not easy to hide in a pair of earrings. When you pull it and you make them sit side by side like that, so that you can have them start your first 2 columns of your ladder stitch. Now on, you're just going to take 2 at a time. So we've got 2 red for the next one. We're going to go back through those 2 red. Okay. There's 2 more red. And so go up the last set that we just put on, and then you're going to come back down those 2, that very last ones. You always want to be coming out the far right side so that you can add on more beads. If you aren't out the very far end, then you're going to basically be building up or behind. You're going to start making more of a 3D shape than a flat fringe earring. Okay, I'm going to continue this on until I get to the very end of my rows. There are 13 pieces to the ladder stitch. I find it easier to do odd numbers because then you're working on the right side to work your way back up, but it's not the end of the world. It's just the way this pattern works. Okay, so now I've made it all the way across. I finished all 13 of my ladder stitch, and so now I'm going to begin the brick stitch. And we call this a brick stitch because the next set of beads is actually going to go between the 2 layers, kind of like if you think of an old red brick wall, how they stack kind of one are off-centered of the ones below it. So for this next row, we're going to start with 2 whites. And you're going to go underneath the string between those 2 beads. Let's see if I can get that to focus for you. Okay, and you're going to pull. Now this is going to become very important when you start putting on these 2 beads. You got to make sure that whatever bead you put on first is going to be the one that's on the top. So you watch your pattern. For these first couple, while you're practicing the brick stitch though, at least they're the same color. So 2 white, and you're going to do that 5 times total. So we've got 1 set. Now, if you're a visual person and you can wrap your head around it, this is not a symmetrical pattern, but if you were to flip it and continue working left to right every time you flip it, you just need to know that even though you're working left to right, every other row you're actually reading the pattern right to left. I'm going to keep it this way for you for now so that you can follow the pattern back with me. Remember, when you go back up those 2 beads, you don't want to undo going under the string though, because that would just undo everything you did. Okay, so here I need to do a white and then a red for the pattern. So because white went on first, it's going to be on the top. Do it again. Okay, I'm going to continue the zigzaggy pattern until I get to the very top of my brick stitch, and then I will come back to show you how to put on the wire guard. Okay, so here I've completed all the way up to my very tippy top, and now I'm going to add my wire guard. So you'll notice in the wire guard there are 2 sets of holes here. Okay, it's like horseshoe shaped, and at the end there's like this little tube. Okay, I lost it for a second there. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your needle through one of those little tubes, slide it down, and rotate it so that the other tube that you haven't gone down is over the other set of double beads. Come down those 2 white beads now. Okay. Now you're going to want to make sure that the thread actually goes into this little groove here, and that's there to protect it so the hook doesn't just rub around on the wire as you're wearing your earrings. And now I'm going to go back up the black and the left side of the wire guard. And then down the right side in the white. So now I've gone through my wire guard twice and made a big loop in there. So if you've got a shorter string, what you could do now is you're going to go and do another loop just through some beads. So we're going to go down. You want to do at least a full circle and a half before you cut your string. So I've come down, I would go up and come back down, and then I could cut my string, and that would keep it nice and secure. I have a fair amount of string left, so I'm actually going to start weaving my way down to one of the corners. So it's up to you which corner you want to do. And I'm going to slowly make my way across here to the black, to where we first began. Keep wrapping myself around. So every time I come down a row, I'm moving over a row as well. And now I'm into the black, so all I'm going to do is take these blacks 2 at a time until I get to the very bottom. And then we're going to start our very first fringe. Okay, so I'm actually going to take my needle off my string. I'm going to come up with my tail now. So I'm going to thread my needle with my tail, and I'm going to show you with this one how you close off. So I'm coming off the row. Now I don't want to stay in here because I know when I'm adding my fringes I'm going to be doing more layers in there. So I'm going to come up an extra row. So now I'm in the second row of whites. I'm going to go down 2 rows here, or down a row of white and red. I'll come back up these 2 whites. If you're going to use pliers, because my carpal tunnel is acting up, just be careful how you maneuver it in there, because if you wiggle it too much, you could crack a bead, and it is next to impossible to fix a mistake in a brick stitch. If you crack a bead, you can't just replace one because of how they're woven together. Okay, so now that I've gone up, down, done more than enough, and I can cut that as close as I can. No knot. I'm going to rethread my string, and I'm going to finish working my way down so I can start that fringe. Okay. If you have a longer needle for fringes, that's nice, so that you can come up more at one time. If you don't, a short needle will work just the same. So now to do the fringe, this is a straight bottom fringe, meaning that it's just one bead that is at the bottom. We don't do a triangle or a circle or a loops or anything like that. So what you're going to do is you're going to add on the entire first row here and follow the pattern. So it's 16A, 1E, 1F, 1D, 1C, 1B. Okay. So it's at 16A. Okay, so that's all the beads for the very first fringe. So what I do then is I take this bottom one, it's my single, leave it aside, because if you were to just go back through that bead, you would undo everything you just did. So we're going to leave that one there. And if you look closely, you'll see there's a tiny string here holding this bead at a funny angle. And that's so everything doesn't just come back off. So I skip the one red bead at the bottom, and I'm going to push through the rest of them all the way back up through this ladder stitch, the very first 2 beads we started our project with. Now if I do that and I pull my string, you can see it's pretty stiff, but if you kind of snake it like a Play-Doh snake, it'll fix your tension on your fringe, because you don't want them to be too stiff, but you don't want to like have them dangling where you see big chunks of string. Okay, then I came down the next 2 of my ladder stitch, those 2 white ones, and I'm going to add all my beads on, skip the bottom one, go all the way back up, come down the next 2, and I'm going to do that all the way to the very end, and then I'll show you how to tie off. Okay, my string is getting pretty short, especially for using a long needle. There is potential me to do like one more, but then I only have 3 left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you. I want to make sure that my tension's good before I tie off my string. So I usually like line them up and then roll them kind of like you would a Play-Doh snake to make sure that they're quite floppy so that they'll be nice dangly fringes. Now, knowing that I'm going to have to come back down through these guys and tie off to add a new string and then go up and tie off to close that said string, I'm going to stick to the left of the fringe I'm coming out of. So I'm going to go up these 2 whites and I'll down the 2 to the left of those. And up these 2 and down again. And oops, I got myself stuck. Essentially what this is doing is we're just providing a good base so that this isn't going to unravel. Now that I've done that and I've pulled that nice and tight, I can snip it as close as I can and get myself a new piece of string and then continue on. And we're going to do it the same way we just closed off. We're going to start a new string that same way and then just make sure that when we come out the bottom, we're coming out the right ladder stitch to add on our next set of fringes. Okay, so I'm going to got my new string, I'm going to thread my needle. So essentially I want to be coming down this one. So if I go, actually let's go down these 2. I'm just going to hold the tiny bit of tail there. I'm going to go up the 2 beside it, down those first 2, and then down the fringe that we want to come out. Okay, and now I've done my loop-de-loop and I've got a little bit of a tail there. I'm going to continue on and we'll cut this little guy right at the very end. So this is my next one. I'll be back in just a jiffy. Okay, so I'm just coming upon my last fringe here, finishing her up. And go all the way up through the ladder stitch. Okay, so I also want to make sure that my last 3 fringes are right where I want them in sense of tension. I'm going to go up another set of 2 here. And down, although that one's pretty full because that's the one we came in. So I'm going to go up actually a 3rd set. So I'm into the 3rd row of my brick stitch. Now if I come down beside that, there should be nothing extra in that set. Go up. And then we'll come back down one more time. And we'll be able to cut both of those right around the same spot. Okay, so the very last part of this is putting on our hook. So this hook, I put it on this way. So this hook, I like when my earrings, especially if they're not symmetrical, I like them when they're opposite of each other. You might prefer them where they're the same way. You just decide. So all I'm doing is I'm taking round nose pliers. I'm going to open the hook a little, the base of the hook, slide that on, make sure it's facing the right way, close my hook, and there I have it. I have my Ukrainian poppy earrings ready to go for Remembrance Day. Feel the poppies. Thank you for joining me today. Marcy Miigwech.